accepting these candidates as disciples into our Brahmagaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. We recently did an initiation also up in New Vaishnava, and we mentioned there, because no one taped it, so we'll mention it again, significant point, that generally such initiations are done on an auspicious day, such as Lord Balaram's appearance day, Janmashtami, and Sringa's appearance, or the appearance of a great devotee. So one may question, how have we chosen this particular day? Well, we can understand from the Bhagavad Gita and Nectar of Devotion that even routine devotional service is auspicious. It is above the modes of material nature. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakanchati. Krishna says, one who engages in full devotional service does not fall down, and does not fall down under any circumstances. He at once transcends the modes of nature and comes to the level of Brahman. So one who engages in Krishna consciousness with body, words, and mind, he is considered Jivan Mukta Uchate. And Prabhupada said he is given full protection by the Lord. This applies, Prabhupada says, quite interestingly enough, in the 8th canto, to even the neophyte devotee. Because unless the neophyte devotee is protected by the Lord and his representative, then how will he make progress in devotional service? A neophyte devotee is particularly vulnerable to the onslaught of material nature. He is vulnerable in one sense, that his faith is not very developed. One is to be understood as advanced in Krishna consciousness according to his faith. The Kanishta Adhikari, he has no knowledge and a little faith. And the Madhyam Adhikari, he has faith, a little more faith, a little more knowledge. And the Uttama Adhikari has full faith and full knowledge. He can deliberate on the scriptures and come to the right conclusion and convince also others as well. So, but even though one devotional creeper is just beginning in the neophyte stage of devotional service, the Lord is so merciful that he protects such a devotee. So, therefore devotional service is all auspicious. Other paths of yoga, other paths of self-realization, one depends upon his own efforts to advance and protect himself from the influence of the material energy. But Krishna's consciousness is so nice that as soon as one surrenders to the Lord, he simply says, "My dear Lord, from this day on, I am yours." If one can simply say that, whatever his disqualifications may be, that is all right. If you come before the Lord and you say, "My dear Lord, from this day on, I am yours. Please accept me as your surrendered servant," then Krishna, as Prabhupada said, you take one step towards Krishna, he takes 1,000 steps towards you. So devotional service is all auspicious. And if the devotee can learn the art of taking shelter of Krishna, he can be protected. It's reciprocal. The Lord is giving his protection. We have to learn how to take that shelter. What is that shelter? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when the spiritual master can see that his disciples learn this art of taking shelter of the holy name, at that point he gives initiation. There's always some risk involved on the part of the spiritual master because neophyte devotee is coming forward. But the one thing the spiritual master is looking for is to seeing, the disciple may have few qualifications. There may even be problems there. But a disciple knows how to take shelter. That is the key. That is the secret. Just like I many times have said the story of Prabhupada walking on the beach with his disciples. The little sand crabs were there. Those little sand crabs, when they heard the footsteps of the humans, they immediately went into the ocean. So Prabhupada said, "Why?" So they said, "Oh, this reason, that reason, scientific reasons." No, he said, because they are small and the ocean is great and they know where to take shelter. So this is the art of Krishna consciousness, to know where to take shelter. So when the spiritual master sees that the aspiring disciple who is requested initiation knows where to take shelter, There are many instructions which the spiritual master gives his disciples shelter and also encouragement to advance in Krishna consciousness. But this initiation ceremony is especially meant for investing the disciple with the power to chant the holy name. It's stated in Shastra that the mantra is actually, one can actually perfect the mantra only when it's received from one who is coming into cyclic succession. Chanting Hare Krishna is always beneficial, of course. We are chanting even to the bugs on the street. But to actually perfect that chanting, one needs to receive that from Krishna's representative. And then that chanting will have effect. So one who has learned to accept this most essential instruction of the spiritual master, we should never underestimate the potency. This is Harinam initiation. For some it is rejuvenation of Harinam initiation. Whatever the case may be, the seed is planted there. And the disciple knows how to water that seed and protect that seed. Then he can advance nicely. So the spiritual master is looking for initiation to see how his disciple has accepted this chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he's confident that the disciple can chant Hare Krishna properly, in the proper consciousness. Then he is pleased to accept that candidate for initiation. So that is auspicious. Krishna consciousness is always auspicious. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is instructing Arjuna that this time is favorable for spiritual perfection. This time is unfavorable for spiritual perfection. Now, Shukla means time of light, and Krishna, not Krishna, but Krishna means time of darkness. So the yogi, Krishna is instructing the yogi that this Shukla, this moment, when the sun is in this position, when the season is like this, when it is like that, then you pass from your body. Yogis have the ability, they could, by their controlling their life errors, they could actually propel the soul to any particular destination. Sometimes yogis would want to go to the moon, Chandra, Lok, Surya Lok. They'd go to the sun planet, riding on the beams of the sun, on the moon beams. They would go like this, and the soul is so powerful. It's described more brilliant than 10,000 suns rising simultaneously. The power of the soul. So the yogis, by controlling the mind and senses, etc., they could elevate. So the Brahmarandra is that little section in the top of the head. And the babies, when they're born, it's open. So the mothers know to always protect that part of the head, because it's just the skin between the outside and the brain. Well, finally it's closing, but still it's a weak point. So the yogis, they go through that. But they'd have to pick the right time, pick the auspicious moment for going like that. So this world is so inauspicious that it's difficult to find that right moment. There was a little luck involved perhaps as well. Even if you're very expert, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. So to find that right, actually Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's all inauspicious. The conception of good and bad, he said, that is simply an illusion, because everything means forgetting Krishna here. Even your heavenly planets, we'll be discussing a little later. Even you go to heavenly planets, still inauspicious because there's moments of forgetfulness. Auspicious means always to remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. That is our goal. All the rules and the regulations that we follow in Krishna consciousness are for this one point up, to perfect our lives so that we can always remember Krishna and never forget him. Prabhupada slowly introduced the rules and regulations. He said, I'm giving you these rules and regulations. And the devotees said, are there more? They were already smoking in the back, going to the do not shop, the donut shop. They said, are there more regulations? And Prabhupada said, if I told you all the regulations, you'd faint. So gradually, as the disciple matures, the spiritual master gives the disciple more responsibility to make him dependent on Krishna. All this hard work that we are doing, all these challenges that we have, what is the purpose? Simply to make us dependent on Krishna. Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj, he used to keep his society in debt. just so the brahmacharis would not stay back in the temple and eat and sleep. They'd have to go out and work very hard. So as the disciple advances, the spiritual master gives that disciple more and more responsibility, because responsibility means, oh, Krishna, please help. So don't think that as you advance in Krishna consciousness, you're not going to get more responsibility. I remember in my Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada this year, I said how quick it is from our first cautious steps in Krishna consciousness, how quick it is that you've given us such sober responsibilities within this movement. It seems just like yesterday, there was Bhakta Brian walking in. And now my spiritual master has asked me to perform this service. So how quickly the responsibilities come in devotional service. So this responsibility, any responsibility, it makes us depend upon Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he even said that his guru, his disciples were his guru. How could the guru say something like that? That his disciples are his gurus. Because the disciple is making the spiritual master come up to the highest standard of devotionals. He was just like guru was pushing disciple and demanding disciple and chastising, you must make advancement, you must surrender. So in the same way, that is his duty, to push the disciple forward in Krishna consciousness. So in the same way, the disciple is placing the onus on the spiritual master to be a good example and to be the shining example for the disciple. So this responsibility is given by the Lord, and that makes us dependent upon Krishna. So all rules and regulations culminate in this one injunction: always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So that is auspicious. That is the residents of Vrindavan. They're always thinking of Krishna. Never for one moment did they forget Krishna. So material life means always forgetting Krishna. So that is auspicious. Therefore, after giving Arjuna all these instructions, Shukla, Krishna, what is favorable, what is unfavorable, he says, don't you worry about this, Arjuna. Yoga Yukta Bhavarjuna, he said. Wonderful instruction. Yoga Yukta Bhavarjuna. My dear Arjuna, be always fixed in devotion. That is auspicious. So therefore there is spiritual master. Because spiritual master is current representative of the link of disciplic succession. Because at this point in our spiritual life, Krishna is there. But because just like a baby, when a baby opens its eyes for the first time, can babies see? I know they can't see. They can't see for about 5 days. The eyes are open, but nothing is being seen. They're looking around, isn't it? The mothers will tell you. First 5-6 days, baby opens the eyes. Baby can't see anything. Eyes are open, but there's no see. You go like this, the baby doesn't even see. But after, what is it, a week or something? You go to the doctor for the first medical exam. The doctor is pushing the instrument like that, and if the baby's eyes begin to move, then they know, oh, good vision is there. And later on, vision is developing. So young baby cannot see very clearly. Eyes are open. So similarly, a young devotee, to see Krishna, Shri Krishna Navari, one cannot see Krishna with these materially contaminated senses. Only when the senses are saturated by devotional service can one see the Lord as He is. But we need the inspiration. So the devotion is given to Guru. Krishna says, Yoga Yukta Bhavarjuna. My dear Arjuna, do not worry about what is inauspicious and what is inauspicious. Don't worry about that. Be always fixed in devotion. Devotion is the natural state of the heart. That is the real state of our heart, is devotion. But devotion means reciprocal service. At first you don't develop an attachment for someone in the beginning. Even in the material world, a man and a woman meet. It's not love at first sight. This is some romantic fairy tale. It is lust at first sight, but anyway, the analogy is there. That there is some exchange, and after some exchange, the loving sentiment is developing. So Krishna may be far away at this point. Of course, he's very close, but he appears, his mercy appears as the spiritual master. And that same devotion that we are meant to give to Krishna, we can give to Guru, and Krishna will accept. So yoga yukta bhavarjuna, you always be fixed in devotion. So how to be fixed in devotion? You be fixed at the lotus feet of your spiritual master. And that devotion that you have developed, that will increase more and more and more. And of course, what is Guru's position? Guru is simply the humble servant. So he takes that devotion, he offers it to his spiritual master, who offers it to his man, all the way back to the lotus feet of Krishna. Just like the spiritual master, he carries the rain cloud of Krishna's mercy. That is his qualification. He may be making $10, but he's giving a check of $1 million. He's the order carrier, he's the postman. Just like the rain cloud, it takes water from the sea and distributes it on the land where it's beneficial. In the sea, what good is the water? It takes that water, the rain cloud. Not only does it take the salt water, but it purifies, there's no salt. It takes the water from the ocean and gives it to the land. So the Guru takes Krishna's mercy and gives it to the disciple. And the opposite is also true. That just like when the rain falls onto the fertile ground, then what happens? Or when the rain falls there, then the seeds that are in the ground, they begin to fructify, they begin to grow. Without the rain, they cannot grow. So without the mercy of the spiritual master, the seed, the bhakti lata bij, in the heart of the disciple cannot fructify. It's there. Krishna consciousness is there in the heart of every living entity. It's not something, Prabhupada said, it's not new. It's there, everyone. And everyone, even the dog, it's the Krishna consciousness is in the... When we get the bona fide process of devotional service, what happens is that seed fructifies. And it bears the fruits and flowers of devotional service. So just as the Guru was the bearer of Krishna's mercy for his disciples, so those fruits and flowers which the disciple produces, the Guru, he takes those and gives those to Krishna. So in one sense, he is the servant of the Lord, he's also the servant of his disciple. He's making this exchange. He's the, what was the word I keep forgetting? He's negotiating. Just like if you get kidnapped by someone, then they want to get you back, so someone has to negotiate on your behalf. The spiritual master, he's negotiating between the disciple and Krishna. My dear Lord, here is a nice candidate for Krishna consciousness. Oh, is it so? Yes, sir, it is so, I have seen. So you have seen, all right, so therefore on your recommendation I will accept. And then the disciple and the spiritual master, by constant training of disciple, he says, oh, these are nice fruits, I'll offer these to Krishna. So in this way, the disciple, yoga yukta of Arjuna, he's always fixed in devotion, because his devotion to Krishna goes through his spiritual master, because he's always seeing his spiritual master, he's always hearing his spiritual master. His spiritual master is coaxing and training and chastising and inspiring. Like this, the spiritual master is the constant factor in the mind of the disciple. Then the disciple is fixed in devotion, because to be fixed in devotion otherwise is very difficult. It's very difficult. It's like you try to keep something underwater, like a rubber ball. Try to keep it underwater. When we were kids, we used to play in the balls in the water, right? The natural gravitational force of the water is such that when you put it under, it comes back up. So the natural inclination of this material world is to forget Krishna. Of course, it's not ultimately natural, but it's natural for this place where we are. Very embarrassing situation. We are part and parcel of Krishna, but we're in this material world accepting these miserable material bodies as something enjoyable. We're enjoying. Here I am in the middle of a holocaust trying to enjoy myself, Narottam Das Thakur says, willingly drinking poison. We're so willingly drinking poison. So the rules of this material world are that you cannot think of Krishna. It is not possible. But just like if pressure is applied under the water, the ball stays there, fixed. So in the same way, the Guru means heavy. By Guru's presence, we keep ourselves in line. So therefore we need Guru, because otherwise we will be, either we are controlled by this material energy, or we are controlled by Krishna. We are the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord, and we are apt to come under the influence of the spiritual or the material. So we are very far from the spiritual, but the spiritual master carries Krishna's instructions, and therefore by following those instructions, even we are in this material world which we are prone to forgetfulness, by following those instructions we remain fixed in devotion. So to have a guru, it's not just a question of having a fire sacrifice and getting a new name. Having a guru means to always follow the instructions. Even now, our beloved Srila Prabhupada is not physically present before us. But Prabhupada said, I always feel my Guru Maharaj is watching over and protecting me. How is that? Vani and Vapu. Vapu means the physical association of the spiritual master, and Vani means the instruction. Obviously, the Vapu is limited. And we may see the Guru once, twice, thrice a year. But Vani is always there. And I told the story last week when I was a young devotee. I wrote a letter to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, I'm missing you. When will you come back? So that was maybe a little sentimental emotion there. Just a new 19-year-old boy. Prabhupada had come and there was some attraction, so I'm missing you. When will you come back? Just like the little girls here. Radha, she wrote me a letter, when are you coming back? When you left last time, I cried. I think Kamala said the same thing, Shrita Kamala. So a little sentiment may have been there, but Prabhupada took the point to instruct me in something deeper. He said, thank you very much for your nice sentiments expressed in your letter. Yes, this separation from the Guru, he said, this is very good. He said, because I always feel that my Guru Maharaj is watching over and protecting me. Well, I thought of that and then had a profound effect on me. And then years later, when Srila Prabhupada departed from this world to go back to Krishna Loka, then before he was going, he instructed us in this maxium, Vani and Vapu, that actually the Vani is more important than the Vapu, because the Vani is the essence of the spiritual master's association with his disciple. And by following the Vani, we're always in connection with the Guru. So, therefore, in the presence of the Guru, we should learn how to properly follow the Vani, to remain fixed in devotion. Because Guru is sometimes, and this is a temporary world, who knows, we could go at any moment, any of us, but the relationship with the spiritual master is eternal. And one can find the same shelter that one feels in the presence of one's spiritual master. If one learns this art of taking shelter in the spiritual master's instructions, one will never feel bereft of the Guru's association. And this is actually what the spiritual master wants to see. It's very nice in the presence of the Guru that one is fired up, but the real worth of the disciple is tested when the spiritual master goes. Just like we have been discussing the marathon. Of course here, it's just a transcendentally automatic fact, but because of the good leadership. But other places we have to emphasize a little bit more. Marathon, okay? You okay? All right. You gonna do it? Yeah. So spiritual master stays encouraged. All right. Of course, we're speaking of disciples, but everyone. And then, so then when the spiritual master leaves, and then if the disciple goes back and goes to sleep, then what is that? So there should be a change in heart. Religion means, as we've many times stated, a change in heart, that we become different persons, like the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, or like base metal becomes gold. So the disciple should actually become a different person. Not that we become a different person, but we become our real personality, our spiritual personality. And that is what the spiritual master wants to see. The fruits and flowers are very nice, but when the disciple gives up material attachment, gives up self-gratification, gives up selfish interest, begins serving Atma-nivedanam with heart and soul, and eventually starts developing love of God, that gives the greatest pleasure to the spiritual master. Anyway, this was supposed to only be the introduction before we sit at the arena, not to cut the other one short. I just wanted to make the point that this is a very auspicious moment. very auspicious moment. And because, why? Through this initiation ceremony, we're hoping to fix the disciple. This whole initiation, upanidhi. Upanidhi means that ceremony which brings one closer to the Guru. It's like the young child in the presence of his father, not afraid of anything. Right? We've got little, what's his name again, little boy? Dhanvantari. Of course, he's pretty brave anyway. But, you know, if he's with his father, you know, he can stick his tongue out at all the big boys, you know, and throw rocks at the dogs and everything, you know. And you know, if he was alone, he wouldn't dare do that. But with his father holding his father's hand, he sticks his tongue out at the local, you know, neighborhood bully, and nothing happens like that. He's fearless. So the spiritual master's qualification is at least he should be fixed in devotion to his guru, and he should also be fearless. So if we take shelter like that, upanidhi means that ceremony. One may be weak, but if one comes in the presence of that which is fixed, he also becomes fixed. So this ceremony of initiation means coming closer to the spiritual master, because you're going to sacrifice. Sacrifice means you're giving up selfish interest. The gross selfish interests of meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling, and refining that principle down to nothing. That nothing belongs to me. Everything belongs to Krishna. Refining down that principle of enjoyment to the point of understanding that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. I am only his humble servant. So when the spiritual master sees the disciples making that sacrifice, then that disciple becomes dear to the Guru. So this initiation ceremony naturally brings one closer, because one is promising, yes, today my life belongs to you. Today I am your dog. We're either the dog of Maya or the dog of Krishna. There's two types of dogs. So we are the dog of the Spirit, and that's why we have the little collars. You don't have them on, but in a few minutes you. So this is bringing near, and by coming closer, great strength is there. Strength is faith, rather. Again, it's faith or strength, same thing. In the association is there. So that association is always there through following the instructions. So this is an auspicious moment because we are being fixed in devotion, coming closer to the spiritual master. So at this point I'd like to request the initiates to put on their neck beads. If someone can help if necessary. And your garlands as well. And we'll just move this to the side a little bit for a moment. And I have to get a little closer. Could you move? Sorry. Could you move this forward? Take a couple of brown jars. This guru's a lightweight, so you know it's not. A little closer, I have to reach all the way to the middle of this. I'm gonna have to push it back. Okay. So at this point, we for this auspicious ceremony, we install the sacred water pot, Lord Vishnu, and we also set up the fire arena for the sacrifice later on this morning. And during this time, we invoke the auspicious presence of the Lord by chanting the Brahma Samhita. So we'd like to request all the devotees who have the sheets, who has the Brahma Samhita sheets, that they begin chanting, not softly, but with great, nice, strong voice, the Brahma Samhita, and we'll set everything up. Hare Krishna. Sarvavastam Yato Piva Ya Smaret Pundarikaksham Sa Vaya Vayantara Suchi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Smaret Pundarikaksham Sa Maya Mayantara Suchi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Tvaya Nishrito Ham Kritas Chanugraho Mahan Aparitai Karna Randryer Jishta Dishoshatir Gira Dishayanusishtoham Kritas Chanugraho Mahan Apavritaya Kanarandraya Jushta Dishoshatir Gira Dishta by you Anushishta instructed Aham I Krita bestowed Cha and Anugraha favor Mahan great Aparitai open Karna Randraya with the holes of the ears Jushta received Disja by good fortune Ushati pure Gira words. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace instructed by you, and thus great favor has been bestowed upon me. I thank God that I have listened with open ears to your pure words. Please repeat. I have fortunately been instructed by you.
I have fortunately been instructed by you.
And thus great favor has been bestowed upon me.
And thus great favor has been bestowed upon me.
I thank God that I have listened with open ears to your pure words. Purport. Sri Rupa Goswami has given directions in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu on how to accept a bona fide spiritual master and how to deal with him. First, the desiring candidate must find a bona fide spiritual master, and then he must very eagerly receive instruction from him and execute them. This is reciprocal service. A bona fide spiritual master, a saintly person, always desires to elevate a common man who comes to him. Because everyone is under the delusion of Maya and is forgetful of his prime duty, Krishna consciousness, a saintly person always desires that everyone become a saintly person as well. It is the function of a saintly person to invoke Krishna consciousness in every forgetful common man. Manu said that since he was advised and instructed by Kardama Muni, he was feeling very much favored. He considered himself lucky to receive the message by oral reception. It is especially mentioned here that one should be very inquisitive to hear with open ears from the authorized source of the bona fide spiritual master. And how is one to receive? One should receive the transcendental message by oral reception. The word Kanarandrai means through the holes of the ears. The favor of the spiritual master is not received through any other part of the body but the ears. This does not mean, however, that the spiritual master gives a particular type of mantra through the ears in exchange for some dollars, and if the man meditates on that, he achieves perfection and becomes God within 6 months. Such reception to the ears is bogus. The real fact is that a bona fide spiritual master knows the nature of a particular man and what sort of duties he can perform in Krishna consciousness, and he instructs him in that way. He instructs him to the ear, not privately but publicly. You are fit for such and such work in Krishna consciousness. You act in this way. One person is advised to act in Krishna consciousness by working in the deity room. Another is advised to act in Krishna consciousness by performing editorial work. another is advised to do preaching work, and another is advised to carry out Krishna consciousness in the cooking department. There are different departments of activity in Krishna consciousness, and a spiritual master, knowing the particular ability of a particular man, trains him in such a way that by his tendency to act, he becomes perfect. Bhagavad Gita makes it clear that one can attain the highest perfection of spiritual life simply by offering service according to his ability, just as Arjuna served Krishna by his ability in the military art. Arjuna offered his service fully as a military man, and he became perfect. Similarly, an artist can attain perfection simply by performing artistic work under the direction of the spiritual master. If one is a literary man, he can write articles and poetry for the service of the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. One has to receive the message of the spiritual master regarding how to act in one's capacity, for the spiritual master is expert in giving such instructions. This combination, the instruction of the spiritual master and the faithful execution of the instruction by the disciple, makes the entire process perfect. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes in his explanation of the verse in Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasa Yatmika Buddhi, that one who wants to be certain to achieve spiritual success must take the instruction from the spiritual master as to what his particular function is. He should faithfully try to execute that particular instruction and should consider that his life and soul. The faithful execution of the instruction which he receives from the spiritual master is the only duty of a disciple, and that will bring him to perfection. One should be very careful to receive the message from the spiritual master through the ears and execute it faithfully. That will make one's life successful. Purport: I have fortunately been instructed by you, and thus great favor has been bestowed upon me. I thank God that I have listened with open ears to your pure words. Oma Gyantimadandasya Ginangina Shilakaya Chaksur Militam Jenatasmai Sigrive Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shvayam Rupakadamayam Dadantishva Padantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada's purport, we hear the proper formula for success in spiritual life that is given very clearly by Srila Prabhupada, that one must have a bona fide spiritual master and one must be a bona fide disciple as well. Srila Prabhupada has given the analogy of the man and woman, that if the man and woman want to conceive a child, then the man, he must be potent and the woman must be fertile. And if that is the case, then conception can take place. If that is not the case, perhaps the man is potent but the woman is not fertile, or the woman is fertile and the man not potent, then conception cannot take place. So this proper chemistry must be there. One must have a bona fide spiritual master. What are the qualifications of a bona fide spiritual master? That is given in the Mundaka Upanishad. Tad Vigyanatam Sagurum Eva Vigachet Samit Panishrotyam Brahmanishtam. That if one at all wants to approach the supreme absolute truth, to understand transcendental subject matter, then one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Eva Vigachet is the word used. Eva Vigachet means it is not a question of perhaps or maybe, but any man who wants to perfect his life, he must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's the Lord himself, but to show the principle that Guru is necessary, he also accepted spiritual master. Krishna also. When Krishna was here, Prabhupada used to say, our Krishna. When our Krishna was here 5,000 years ago, he also accepted Guru. So, Eva Vigachet. It is not even, if you translated this obligatory, that is not strong enough. It's hard. Eva Vigachet means you must, if you want to approach the absolute truth, you must approach the Krishna's representative. And what are the qualifications of such a representative? Shrotriyam Shrotriya means that he's expert in understanding, and Brahmanishtam, that he's perfectly engaged in devotional service. So, evam parampara praptam imam majasayo vidu. Of course, to have these qualifications of being expert at understanding Krishna, the Krishna conscious philosophy, and to be properly engaged, evam parampara praptam, one must be situated within the disciplic succession. So, such are the qualities of the bona fide devotee. Giva vipragivanayase suddhukenanaya ye Krishna tattva say Guru Haya. Regardless of where one is coming from, Giva vipra givanayase sudra. One may be a learned man, he may be sannyasi, he may even come from the category of Sudra previously. But ye Krishna tattva, if he has been trained, understands the science of Krishna, say Guru Haya. So that's the first part. So, second part, Tadvidi paripatena pariprashana sevaya. That again, Bhagavad Gita is emphasizing, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. So the qualifications are mentioned there, also in that verse of Bhagavad Gita. Pariprashana sevaya. That the disciple, what are his qualifications? That he's very submissive, and he's eager to advance in spiritual life, and understand the science. So this submissive inquiry is particularly important. And there's a very nice relevant verse for us to appreciate the qualities of the disciple from the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, when the sages are approaching Shuddha Goswami to be enlightened in devotional service. So he is the spiritual master, so he embodies the principle of good devotee. The spiritual master must himself be a good devotee, otherwise how he can train his devotees, his disciples. So the sages, they say to Shuddha Goswami, Vitat tvam somyatat sarvam tatpatasta anugrahat bruyu snigdhasya shishyasya guruvo guyam apyuta. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. So here's the important, most essential quality, that a disciple is submissive to the instruction of his spiritual master. So this proper combination of bona fide guru and bona fide disciple, that will bring forth the birth of Krishna consciousness. This initiation ceremony today is compared to the second birth of the disciple. The first birth is into the womb of material nature. It is nothing wonderful. We have discussed before how people are so foolish that they celebrate their appearance in this womb of darkness, this womb of material nature. Generally, we have a saying that first impressions are the most important, isn't it? They say first impressions are most important. So what is your first impression of this world? Darkness? You were conceived into the womb of your mother. So what is your first impression? Is it a very nice impression? And just to add insult to injury, when you come out of the womb, maybe you were thinking, now, finally, get out of that horrible place, all those bugs and gases and bitter juices and getting knocked around, and now I've made it. And you come out and welcome to the material world. Just like if I came to the temple and you opened the door, welcome to the Christchurch temple, Maharaj. Well, thank you very much. I'm going back up to New Varshana. So, why don't we learn? Because it's the same experience. So that this is our birth into the womb of material nature. There's nothing wonderful about it. Prabhupada said on one's birthday, one shouldn't celebrate. One should go out and do preaching and austerity. Sometimes we have this habit now. We celebrate the devotees' birthdays. So that's all right for us to glorify the devotee. But as far as the devotee is concerned, he should think, born into this material world, let me become more serious on this day. Let me practice some penance, austerity. Let me go out, take the full advantage, go on, distribute some books. Actually, Prabhupada gave this instruction. So we should understand that our first birth is into the womb of material nature. Janame janame sabe, pita mata paya, Krishna guru nahi mili, bhaja hariye. Everyone gets a mother and father. But if one can get Guru and Krishna, he can take second birth and go back home, back to Godhead. So material birth means death. He not busy being born is busy dying. That's not Bhagavad Gita, but we won't mention the name. He not busy being born is busy dying. So as soon as birth means what? Birth means from conception till you come out of the womb. That's what birth means. That's growth. You're growing from the pea-like body at the first night of conception until you take your birth from the womb of your mother. That's birth. After that, it's all death, dying. If you're not busy being born, that means you're busy dying. As soon as you take birth, then you have a number of breaths that you breathe. God has given you, according to your karma, a certain amount of breaths to breathe. And as soon as those breaths are expired, you die. So you're using up all those breaths, so you're busy dying. You're not, I'm sorry sir, it's not living, it's dying. You're busy dying. And Krishna says, for one who has taken his birth, death is certain. And for one who has died, birth is certain. So birth means you will die, and death means you'll take birth, as long as you're in the materialistic conception of life. That is for sure and certain. It's a counterfeit coin of material existence. Heads or tails. Heads I win, tails you lose. But because it's a counterfeit coin, everybody loses. Right? Heads I win. Hey, it's heads, I win. You lose, too bad. You take that coin and try to buy something. You can't purchase anything with it because it's counterfeit. So this material existence is counterfeit. It's the perverted reflection. It's like looking into a lake and seeing the reflection of an apple. Look at that nice apple. You get a wet face. You have to turn to the real, to the original tree. So this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. This counterfeit. It's not that the counterfeit coin is not there. It's not an illusion. Brahma Satya Jagamitya. Only Brahman is real, but Jagat, this material creation, is false. No, it is false, yes, but it is false because it is temporary. It's counterfeit. It's not that it's not real. It is real, but it is the inferior energy of the Lord. So it is counterfeit. It is, we are getting cheated. It is not, we are taking our birth only to die, and we are dying to take birth. So first birth means death. But Krishna says, what is the nature of one who takes shelter of him? Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita that one who takes birth into the process of Krishna consciousness, he never takes birth again. Bhaktimam avijananti yavanyaschasmi tatvataha. I can be understood as I am only by the process of devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by that devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So birth into Krishna consciousness means no more death. That is the difference. This birth is different. This second birth means no more death. It is not like the birth where you are guaranteed death, and then again birth. This birth is the final birth. This second birth, this birth at initiation, Prabhupada said, deathlessness begins at the moment of initiation. At this point, one becomes situated into eternity. We are nitya baddha. We are eternally conditioned souls. Why does it say eternally conditioned? Weren't we once with Krishna? Yes, we were once with Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, we have been in this material world since time immemorial. So we're considered nitya baddha. But when one takes to Krishna consciousness and perfects this process of devotional service, nitya mukta, he becomes an eternally liberated soul. Even though he may have to be considered conditioned before, now because of the process of devotional service is there, he'll never come back to this material world. So that beginning point, that is the initiation ceremony. It is divine. It's like, well, it's not a perfect analogy, but I saw in Vrindavan how conception takes place amongst the peacocks. Ordinarily, is a very gross act. But the peacocks, and there's the dance, the peacocks are dancing. The male is, in the bird kingdom, the male is the beautiful bird, and the female is not very attractive, opposite. So the dance is there, the male bird dances, and then when it's time for conception, a tear comes from the eye of the female peacock, or rather the male peacock, and the female peacock, she drinks that tear and she conceives. The peacock's Krishna's favorite bird. It is not a gross act. I wouldn't say it's divine, but it's certainly very interesting. The male is dancing, and this causes the peacock, the mother peacock, to shed a tear. So the tear is coming, and as soon as the tear comes, then the female, she drinks the tear of the male, and she becomes pregnant. So it's not divine, but it helps to give us an idea of something different. So, but this birth is actually divine. It is a divine birth. Initiation is a divine birth, because it means that no more death. And we'll give another example of the good fortune of this initiation. We also use in Auckland, but there was no tape recorder. So, what is that? That before coming to Krishna consciousness, everything was a fall down. Because everything in the material world means forgetfulness of Krishna. Even if one is on the heavenly planets, then he's considered to be in a fallen condition. So even if you perform pious activity, you don't necessarily get elevated. You get elevated to Swarga Lok, that's it. But far beyond Swarga Lok is the Vaikuntha planets. And the topmost of the Vaikuntha planets is Krishna Loka. So if you come to this world, everything you're doing is gradually a fall down. So it's like this, you're falling, 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 falling. And then Brahmanda Brahmatikon, Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasad, Bhai Bhakti Lata Beej. If one is very fortunate after traveling with all these different species of life in different universes, if one is fortunate to come in contact with the devotees of the Lord and Krishna, he can get the Bhakti Lata Beej, the seed, whereby he begins his journey back to God. So it's falling, 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 and then gradually, Ado Shada Tata Sadhusanga, little associate, it starts to turn. Your life, the turning point of your existence. Ado Shraddha. What are these Hare Krishnas anyway? Let me go see their chanting party. Let me get one of those books. Let me come to the Sunday feast. See, your misfortune starts turning into fortune, good fortune. So you're turning. Ado Shraddha. Tata Sadhusanga. Oh, taking the association of devotees seriously. Ado Shraddha Tata Bhajana Kriya. Accepting the principles of devotional service. Of the first 5 of the 64 items of devotional service is taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual turning point, like this. And then that initiation day, we're going right straight up. So everyone look now, what does that make? If you're falling, 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 and it goes up like that, what is that? It's a big smile. So in that way we're very fortunate, because this initiation point, coming to Krishna consciousness, that adosha tata sadhusanga, Prabhupada said the actual connection with Krishna is there in the moment of initiation. Before initiation, the actual connection with Krishna is not made. It's the turning, we're turning. But for the full smile to take place, and to be fixed like an arrow, in the direction of going back upwards, that's the when we take full shelter. That's going up. So this is a most auspicious day, because it's it. And for some it is getting back on the path, the rejuvenation, getting the arrow fixed again. Like this. So it is a happy day. So by our sinful desires, we have taken birth in the womb of material nature. It's because of our own sinful desires we find ourselves in the womb of various mothers. It is by desire. And when one's Krishna consciousness has sufficiently developed, he may take birth or diksha from a bona fide spiritual master. Similarly, just like in the material world, there's conception, but then there's gestation, is called gestation. There's a period of 9 months where the body is growing. So birth doesn't take place immediately with conception. Birth comes after maturity. The first night, there's a small pea-like body. It grows. And when that body is mature, it leaves the womb and there's birth. So in the same way, our spiritual conception is the moment we came in contact with devotees, but our birth is initiation, when we're mature in our devotional service. That Prabhupada said, he said, just like I accepted my spiritual master as my spiritual master the moment I heard him. But we know that Prabhupada took birth initiation 10 years later. Of course, that is his pastime. But the point is that there's a gestation period where one is growing, and only when one is mature does birth. If one is born prematurely, it's called, it can be miscarriage and very dangerous. But when one is mature, then one can take birth. So again, as we were saying earlier, the gestation period is there. Ado, Shraddha, Tata, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya. And then when the spiritual master can see, yes, this devotee, this boy or this girl, they have progressed sufficiently enough that there won't be miscarriage. It's not a risk for me to accept them as disciples because I can see they're strongly fixed in devotional service. Then he gives initiation. So what is the sign that one has developed all the arms and the legs and the eyes and the nose nicely? Of course, we're speaking about the spiritual body. Atashi Krishnamani Habaved Graimindriya. This process is not performed with one's material senses, but one's spiritual senses are awakened. So when one's spiritual consciousness is awakened to the point where one is nistha, or steady, then there's initiation, this birth. It'll be a healthy birth. We are hoping that all these initiates, it will be a healthy birth. And when it's healthy, he can live life fully. So a healthy disciple, he lives the healthy life of Krishna consciousness without any problems. If one is healthy, there's no problems. If one is sick, problems will come. So what is the criteria for that birth? Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru. When one has faith in the spiritual master in Krishna, because that faith is the foundation of Krishna consciousness. Again, Kanishta Madhyam and Uttama. And faith means to put your trust into something sublime. So if one can learn to put faith in the spiritual master, which means that one does not hesitate to follow any instruction of the spiritual master. That's what faith means. It's like a faithful person will put his head on your lap without any fear. So one will put his life into the hands of the spiritual master if he has faith in that person. And faith means that let's say Prabhupada says, I have blind faith in my Guru Maharaj. Whatever he tells me, I will do. It's not blind in the sense that it is ignorance. Ignorance means to put your faith in the wrong place. Knowledge means to put your faith in the right place. But because we are insignificant and we are nothing, then we have to have the faith that the spiritual master can train us. So that if that faith is there, then any instruction that the spiritual master gives you, you will accept without hesitation. So the spiritual master, he is Krishna's representative for the disciple. And therefore he's not to be seen as an ordinary man, because Krishna's mercy becomes manifest through the bona fide spiritual master for the disciple. And as the spiritual master is Krishna's representative, then when he initiates, his disciples also become Krishna's representatives. So the spiritual master must be confident that his disciples are steady, because spiritual master means he's recommending you to Krishna. Oh, this is a nice candidate. On your recommendation, I will accept. So it would be a great embarrassment later on if there was an accident. Just like one time Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was giving sannyas to some of his disciples. And during the ceremony, the wife of one of the sannyasis came in and dragged her husband out by the dhoti. No, you can't take sannyas. So he left. And then Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj, he cried. I could not deliver this person. So it is the dearest desire of the spiritual master that his disciples become liberated from the repetition of birth and death. So Krishna states in the famous verse, Tadvidi paripatena pariprashana sevaya, that the path of spiritual life is undoubtedly difficult. Therefore, it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Samshitaye pada palava plavam mahatpadam punya yasho marare bhavam virvatsa padam param padam 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 yadvi padam natesham. That those who've accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Murari, or the killer of the Mura demon. The ocean, Bhavam Vatsa, the ocean of material existence becomes reduced to the water contained in the hoofprint of a calf. Difficult, you want to cross the ocean, but to cross over a calf's hoofprint, that's very easy. So the difficult obstacles that this material world presents becomes very easy for a devotee. Although Prabhupada said the path of spiritual life is undoubtedly difficult, therefore it behooves one to approach a spiritual master. What happens is the spiritual master reduces that Bhavam Vatsa, that ocean of material existence, to the water contained in the hoofprint of a calf. That place where there are no material anxieties, not padam padam yadvi padam natesham, not that place where there is danger at every step. So that boat to cross over the ocean of material existence, that is this valuable human form of life. And the favorable winds which push us across the ocean, that is the Vedas. And the expert captain of the ship who can help us cross over, that is the spiritual master. So if we know the art of taking shelter of the spiritual master's instructions, we can remain steady in the ocean of material existence. It's always going to be a little rocky as long as we're in this world, that we should never jump out of the boat. Sometimes it may get a little rocky, but if you jump out of the boat because you have some seasickness, then you're really finished. So the best thing is to make the boat steady. And how do you make boats steady? Any sailors here? This is New Zealand. How do you make a boat steady? Good rudder. So what's the rudder? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just like an ocean liner has a big rudder. So ocean liners, they don't usually sink, but little rowboats, they always sink. So the deeper we go into this Krishna consciousness, accepting instructions, and spiritual master means he's always giving instructions. He continues. It's a continuous process of nourishment, like this. So he's continuing, and that rudder becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Even the greatest wind comes. Nishta steady. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Just like Haridas Thakur. Vishwamitra Muni was approached by Menaka, one of the most beautiful after Urvasi. She's the most beautiful in the heavenly planets. Menaka. He was meditating, and then hearing her ankle bells, he fell down. But Haridas Thakur, he was approached by Maya herself. And she presented so many postures, etc. His mind was not distracted for a moment. Twayi me nanya visaya matir manupate shakrit ratim udva hatat udha ganga vogam udanvati. As Kunti Devi is praying, O Lord of the Madhus, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, so let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. So we will not be diverted by Maya if we take full shelter of the instructions of the Lord through his representatives. And we'll know that we're becoming steady when we are more attracted to the Guru's instructions than Maya's temptations. That means we're steady. The choice is always there, just like Vyasadeva, when he saw Krishna, he saw the Lord, his personified energies, he saw the inferior energy, Maya Devi, right behind the Lord. So the choice is always there, Maya or Krishna. But one who is nishta, steady, by taking shelter of this process, he's never tempted. He's never tempted. He's like that ocean liner. He's always steady. So Maya and Krishna, in effect, by this process of devotional service, this initiation ceremony, we are accepting our vows and we are declaring our independence from Maya by declaring our dependence on Krishna. The famous article in the Back to Godhead magazine, declaring our dependence on Krishna. So we have been Maya's servant faithfully to no avail since time immemorial. She has kept us bound hand and foot. In what way? By sinful activity. We have been Maya's servants, bound hand and foot by sinful activity. So when we agree, no more sinful activity, refine it down to nothing, then we are independent of Maya. So actually we're declaring, today we are declaring our independence from Maya by declaring our dependence on the Supreme Lord. Now we are under Krishna's charge and we will remain safe at the lotus feet of the devotees. So this initiation ceremony, in effect, it is a vrata. Vrata means a vow, that now I belong to Krishna. And as we were saying earlier, that's why we wear these neck beads. Now that I am Krishna's dog now. Dog also has good qualities. Chanika Pandit teaches that one good quality of the dog is his faithfulness to his master. So we can be inspired by many examples even within the material nature. So now our master is Guru and Krishna, and their master is Maya. And we've given the example, the fluffy dog and the skinny dog. Prabhupada was walking on the beach. So the skinny dogs, that's the materialists. They have to beg and struggle for their sustenance. But the fluffy dog, who has a master, Prabhupada was walking on the beach, he saw skinny dogs running here and there, and he saw the dog attached to the leash of his master. He was fat and fluffy and a big smile on his face. So Prabhupada said, why is that? So, because they had masters. So Maya, master of Maya, Rudrani, Shivu, makes you cry forever. But the domestic dog, although the skinny dog has to struggle, the domestic dog, he sometimes eats at the plate of his master. So we are Krishna's dogs, and we are eating from the same plate as Krishna. Every day we offer prasadam, and that prasadam is coming. We're eating Krishna's food. We are sleeping in Krishna's house. We are being maintained by Krishna, so we are Krishna's dogs. And therefore we're fat and fluffy. Generally you don't see too many skinny devotees. They've always got a little spare tire on the side there. So, just as the ordinary dog is nourished by the spiritual by his master, so similarly, what is our nourishment? What gives us the strength to go on in devotional service? The care and attention of our spiritual master. That is the constant factor. It is eternal, his ongoing instructions, his training, his pleading, his chastises that pushes us back to God. Alone we cannot do it. How is it possible? Alone we cannot do it. Daiviyesha gunamai mamamaya dharatya. This materiality is very difficult, Krishna says, but one who surrenders unto me, he can easily overcome it. What does that surrender begin with? Tadvidi paripatena. Taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness movement, that is our shelter. Just like the rocket ship. If you try to jump and touch the sky, what can you do? You can't jump and touch the sky. But if you get into a rocket ship and you blast off, that gravity is holding you down, but because the rocket ship is so strong, it goes beyond the force of gravity, poof, and it goes out into the outer space where it's free from the law of gravitation. So that the Guru is like the rocket ship, and the fuel which propels us beyond the force of gravity or Maya's illusion is Krishna. When you get on the rocket ship, and the fuel which actually propels us beyond, that is Krishna's mercy. So we are Krishna's servants, and we take pleasure in chanting these holy names. That is the fuel. Every day we're fueling up. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. That is the fuel. If you don't get the fuel, you run out of fuel. So most important of all instructions, 16 rounds every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. And we take great pleasure in chanting these holy names. Just like Ishvara Puri, he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you're simply a fool, you just chant Hare Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was criticized, why aren't you studying Vedanta at home and doing this? And he said, I'm just a fool. My spiritual master just told me to chant Hare Krishna. And now that I'm chanting Hare Krishna, all these ecstatic symptoms are coming all over my body. I'm feeling so happy by chanting Hare Krishna. So we take great pleasure in following the instructions. Don't think that to follow these instructions that we get is a burden. It's a pleasure. It's not a burden, it's a pleasure to practice the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, the regulative principles of freedom. We're becoming gradually freed, so we take shelter in any instruction that we get, knowing that that will free us from material existence. So our greatest, the most important instruction, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And we're very happy to chant those holy names of the Lord. So Maya is like, you cannot glorify someone you are envious of. It is not possible. We are supposed to glorify Krishna. So Maya is like that snake which bites the living entity and fills him with the poison of envy. That is Maya. She bites you. Maya bites you, the living entity, and fills him with the poison of envy. And the spiritual master is the one who gives the mantra to counteract the poison of envy. It's like when someone gets bit by a snake in India, then they chant mantras. I told you the story, we've seen it. And he vomits the black poison. So mantra is very powerful. So in the same way, we are in this world because of envy, and the remedy is to chant Hare Krishna under the direction of the spiritual master. That will cure our envy. And envy is the original source of our existence in this material world. So the simple process of becoming free from the snake bite of Maya, which makes us envious, is simply to chant every day, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the connection with Krishna is established, or re-established, with this initiation ceremony. And this means that there will be growth, so the disciple will assist the guru in his service to his guru. He will become an asset, not a liability. And in a few moments, the initiates will take their vows, but it's not enough simply to promise to follow the rules and regulations. That is not enough. That is simply like saying, my dear Guru Maharaj, I will no longer be an animal. I will no longer be an animal. I will no longer eat dead bodies, drink poison, squeeze flesh, and waste my time. Basically, that's what we're saying, the four-legged principles. I will no longer eat corpses, rotting corpses. I'll no longer drink poison in the form of alcohol and marijuana. I'll no longer squeeze the flesh. I love you. That is love in the material world. Let me squeeze the flesh. I will no longer go around squeezing fleshes, and I won't waste my time. That's not enough. Thank you very much, but that means you're no longer an animal. But Guru Maharaj, I will chant 16 rounds a day, and I will develop pure love of God. And I will be an asset to this Krishna conscious movement. That is the point. Change of heart means that we want to contribute. We've received the mercy, so we should contribute. There's a debt at the moment of initiation. Because in so many ways, the Spirit, just like Prabhupada would always sign his letters, your ever well wisher. So in all capacities, Prabhupada is our ever well wisher. The spiritual masters are ever well wisher. And he's helping us in all ways to advance in devotional service. He's accepting the karma. The karma means that is an inconvenience for the spiritual master. He is not Krishna. Krishna sarva dharmam parityajam hamekam saranam bhaja ham tam sarva papibhyo mokshisi suchaha. Just abandon everything and surrender him to me. I will protect you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. So Krishna is like the sun. He can purify the most filthy place without being affected. But Guru is just the humble servant of Krishna. So he's not like the sun. He has to undergo some inconvenience like that. But he's willing to take the karma of the disciple if he sees there's some reciprocation. Just like the mother can carry the child for 9 months in the womb. There was recently an experiment done somewhere, and just because the women are always saying the men never understand what it's like, so the mothers who become pregnant, then their husbands go in and they wear this 9-10 kilo, how much the babies wear, kind of thing on their stomach, and they walk around for 2 weeks like that, and then, wow, God, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then they're a little more respectful to their wives. This is a technique in good family relationships, because sometimes during pregnancy there's some strain. The woman desires more attention, she needs more facility. The man is thinking, what's the use? Just get out of here. Yes, but you don't understand what it's like. So the man, he wears this, big piece of lead, and he walks around, and then he goes to the shower, and he takes rest, and he puts his pants on, and it's all very inconvenient. It's just so to train him what it's like. So the mother, it's a great inconvenience for her to carry the child. In the womb, sometimes the baby's kicking. And the mother has to experience so much inconvenience in this way. But knowing that there's a little child in her womb, she bears that responsibility with great pleasure. Because she knows that when she gives birth, she's going to have a little son or little daughter. So the spiritual master, he'll carry the burden of his disciples. And that burden is there in the form of karma, in the form of worry, in the form of responsibility, of care, of concern, of training, of time. Practically the spiritual master, he imbibes the personality of the disciple. Therefore it's stated that the guru cannot take too many disciples. He has to be qualified, just like you cannot eat so many chapatis if you can't digest them. So the spiritual master has to be advanced enough to take care of the disciple. So, but just like Prabhupada gave another analogy, he said if the cow is kicking, that's all right as long as she's giving milk. You can tolerate the kicking as long as there's milk. So Guru will tolerate anything. He'll even come back if necessary. He'll come back to this world to save his disciple. But it is a reciprocation as well. Because what is Guru? Guru is simply the humble servant of his Guru. That's his only qualification. So he wants to see that the mission of his spiritual master is successful. So that is reciprocation. Just like a young boy. So, you have any garden? Just put it there for now. Okay. First offer your obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Maybe you can clear a path there, please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And the deities? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So what are the rules and regulations that you promise to follow?
No meat,
Keep the children quiet, please.
no meat, fish or eggs, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling.
And how many rounds every day?
Minimum of 16.
Well, also I request the disciples to regularly read Srila Prabhupada's books. Before I used to ask that they would read 1 hour, but I know that is sometimes difficult in this day and age of so many activities, but I would request you, all of you, to be very serious about regularly reading, regularly studying Prabhupada's books as much as possible. We'll always receive proper instruction, whatever we have to do in Krishna consciousness. So, I'm going to give you a very nice name. It's an unusual name, but very wonderful at the same time. As the devotees remember, in 1979, I went down to South India to visit the appearance site of Lord Narasimhadev. If you want to know anything about the story, you just ask these kids. They know the story backwards and forwards. So that place is called Ahovalam, where Nrsimhadev appeared. So we are going to give you the name, Ahovalam Nrsimha. So Bhakta Jason, what are the rules and regulations that you promise to keep forever?
Living, fresh meats, no intoxication, no illicit sex,
And how many rounds every day?
at least 6 minutes.
So we are making this promise in front of the Lord, Gaurnitai, Nrsimhadev. We are making this promise in front of the Srila Prabhupada. We are making the promise in front of Vaishnavas, and we are making the promise in front of fire. Fire is also the mouth of Vishnu. When we throw the grains, then all these sinful reactions are going there. And the banana means we are surrendering our life. So you are promising now to follow these rules and regulations, so you keep this promise. And also you read regularly. So I'm very happy to accept Dr. Jason. Is it finished? You want to reload? I keep speaking? Okay. I'll read a verse from the Vaishnavas. I'm very happy to accept this young brahmachari as my disciple. Actually, it was not too long ago that Dr. Jason approached me for initiation, but we have a common interest, and that is book distribution. Personally, I don't want to talk about myself. Distributed books for many years, so I'm always lamenting I'm not out there. But I said if we can't distribute books, we should always be desiring to distribute books. So I'm hoping that through my disciples, I can fulfill this desire. Just like the father, he fulfills his desires through his children, actually. That is the reason people have children, basically. But it is a perverted principle, because they're fulfilling their material desires through their children. So to have a spiritual son, like Dr. Jason, is very nice, because he has the spirit of Sankirtan. So I'm hoping that he will fulfill my desire for distributing books. Because I have to sit in these big seats now, I can't get out. I sit in the office all day, you know. But I'm hoping that he will, on my request, continue this book distribution for as long as possible. Actually, why not make a career of preaching Krishna consciousness? Of course, different duties, responsibilities may come, but we should always feel that our identity is preachers in this Krishna conscious movement. So my request to you is that you distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. You distribute these books, you read these books, and you live by these books. That's more noise than the camera. So we're also giving you a name of Lord Shringadev. I've got a few names of Shringadev I've been saving, so this was all spontaneous this last few days initiation. Didn't know if we were going to be doing it, so I'm giving these nice names. So a lion in Sanskrit is called Singha, and when he's transcendental he's called Divya. Like we have Divya Sun, transcendental bath. So your name means the servant of the transcendental lion, Divya Singha. Kandarpa?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Do you want to use the microphone? She has the same problem as me. I always have to use a microphone. So what are the four regulative principles that you promise to follow forever? And chanting? And reading? Well, you can read regularly. You're reading 1 hour a day? Almost. What, 59 minutes? All right, you read as much as possible. Actually, this is how our relationship began. She asked for some instruction, so I tried to connect her to Prabhupada by reading these books. So you continue like that. I want you to continue reading regularly. Also, Kandarpa has very nicely fulfilled my request to distribute Prabhupada's books. I know it is not easy for mothers, but that's no excuse. Mothers sometimes it's inconvenience to go out, but she's made this effort and in a very nice way, and for that reason I'm accepting her as a disciple, because again I see the reciprocation. So the more mercy that comes from our Guru Parampara, then the more reciprocation, and then the more mercy, then the more reciprocation. So we should learn this art of satisfying our Guru Parampara, and then we'll get more and more opportunities to advance in devotional service. So I'm also giving you a special name. A name of Lakshmi Devi, who I'm worshipping along with Lord Shringadev every day. Lakshmi is sitting on the lap of Lord Narasimhadev. She is his eternal consort. And in her deity form, she's known as Kari. Kari means that she is the ocean, or rather, she is the goddess who is giving so much good fortune to everyone. So our good fortune is Krishna consciousness. So with the blessings of Lakshmi Devi, we may serve the lotus feet of Krishna, Lord Narasimhadev. So we will give you this name. From now on, your name is Sri Kari Dasi. That was a special one. I've been saving that up. Sri Kari. Very beautiful name. Lakshmi Nrsimhadev. I also have. So, what are the rules and regulations that you promise to follow forever? And chanting and reading regularly. So I'm also very happy to accept Palomi as my duly initiated disciple. She has also reciprocated very nicely. She's also a mother with a child, but she's also going out and distributing books. And I found out yesterday she's also a very good sewer. And she made the nice cushions that you see Lord Nrsimhadev is wearing today. This is very nice. The spiritual master the disciple has the opportunity to serve the spiritual master personally and also by following his instructions. So you continue with your Sankirtan and all your other services. So I am giving you a name. We have been quoting the Bhagavad Gita a lot recently, so that is Gita, and Krishna is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita as Govinda. So we will combine these two words, and from now on your name will be Gita Govinda Dasa. Also a beautiful name, Gita Govinda. Bhakti name.
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So what are the rules and regulations which you promise to follow?
No illicit sex, no reading, no gambling, no intoxication.
And chanting?
16 minutes a day.
And reading?
As much as possible.
As much as possible. We all know that what that means for Bhakti Name. But actually this is an instruction I gave her recently. Everyone very much appreciates her attitude of intense service for Krishna. But we must refine how to refine that service. Not that we stop service, we decrease service, but we increase the quality. So how do we increase the quality? By becoming Krishna conscious. So I gave her the instruction, as much as she is intensely performing her service, she should intensely perform her sadhana. And that combination would be perfect. Everyone knows how hard she works. So I said, you work this hard at chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Don't feel shy. Sometimes people are saying she's working so hard, maybe you're thinking it's over endeavor. We have not yet begun to work for Srila Prabhupada. That is the idea. Over endeavor means that we are serving, but we are compromising on the basic principles of sadhana. We are compromising on our chanting, we are compromising on our hearing, we're compromising on our association, compromising little details one by one, so much that we come to the point of compromising a principle. So we should not compromise like that. We should serve intensely, but we should balance, we should give it strength by intense sadhana. And then we'll really begin to see what Bhakti Nan can do. Now she's doing so much nice service for Krishna. This is only the beginning. So if she takes full shelter of this Maha Mantra and the instructions of her spiritual master, you'll see her service increase Along with it, you'll see the quality increase, which means that you'll remember Krishna. At the moment of death, she can be a pure devotee of the Lord and go back and serve Krishna in the same capacity in the spiritual world. So we are giving you a very nice name. You should also give your association to others. We were saying that the disciple becomes a representative of the spiritual master. So you also give your association to others. You become an ocean of mercy. Therefore, from today on, your name will be Karunika Devi Dasi. Karunika means an ocean of mercy. Hovalam Nrisinghadas ki, Divya Singhadas ki, Shri Kari Dasi ki, Gita Govinda Dasi ki, Karunika Dasi ki, all the assembled Vaishnavas ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, International Society for Krishna Consciousness ki, God calling back to Godhead ki, Gaur Premananda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama.
Om Angena Jivanandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Hena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Ready? Svaha 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 Shri Chaitanya Manovishta Stapita Jena Bhutale Svaha Svaha Vande Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shivupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ravanatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Vitam Svaha 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 Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Svaha Svaha Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Devi Daitaya Vipadhaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanuga Rayate Swaha 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 Jayatam Sarto Angor Mama Manda Mater Gati Mat Sarvasva Radha Shila Govinda Devo Krishtalavi Sevyamano Smarami Svaha 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 Shriman So we'd like all the initiates to rise. Put the rest of your grains in the fire with your right hand. The smoky fire. A little cleaning to do afterwards. Okay, and then you take your banana in your right, in your folded palms. And after we finish the next chanting, you will place the banana with your right hand into the middle of the fire. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Swaha Swaha the fire.
Hare